Hello and welcome back to Matt Hayes Tottenham blog. And for the first time in about a month and a half, we are live, we are streaming, and I can say we are back as we move in towards the festive period and towards the January transfer window. We're going to get a whole lot more content on this channel, the same as what you always got before, but bigger and better. I'm so excited to be back, and I see so many kind comments in the live chat already. So thank you to everyone who's tuning in, and a big thank you especially to the absolute legend Bowster TV, who has become a member of the channel. It'll pop up on screen for me. Maybe in a second we'll see. Bobby, thank you so much for your support. Thank you for becoming a channel member. Anyone else, if you do want to become a member, hit that join button down below. But look, no need for that today. The main reason we are is we're back, and we're going to have a fantastic chat with a fantastic guest about what has been a huge week for Tottenham Hotspur. As you can see in the title, we're going to be talking about Conte's first week. We're going to be talking about Nuno Espirito's statement, which he put out on Instagram earlier today. And we're also going to be looking ahead to the January transfer window and what Tottenham have to do in the build-up and during the very important 31 days as well. Before we do get into that, and before we do introduce our guest, we had a bit of news for the channel while we were away. And a lot of you may remember I was running for the best young content creator at the Football Creator Awards. And I'm delighted to say we won the silver award for that. So we were the runners-up to United Cloud, who's an incredible Instagram and Twitter page, and I've done a few bits with in the last couple of weeks. But look, to everyone who's voted, to everyone who supports the channel, to anyone who's ever seen me on their screen, from the bottom of my heart, I do mean it. Thank you so much. I was delighted to win that silver award. But look, like I said, we're here to talk about Tottenham. We're here to talk about Conte. And the man who's going to be doing that with us today is the man himself, David Harris, the Irish Hotspur. David, how are you getting on today, my friend?
Absolutely brilliant, lad. Absolutely brilliant. First of all, I want to say a massive congratulations on your award. You fully deserved it. And look, next year we're going for gold, Matty. Next year we're going for gold, man. That's the aim. You can only improve from here. But first of all, congratulations. And second of all, thanks very much for having me. I'm honored to be asked to be the first one back on your first live stream back in quite a while. So, and it's good to have you back around, Matty. I speak on behalf of all your followers, everyone that voted for you for that award, and everyone else that is, really enjoys your content and and respects you as the man you are. It's good to have you back, Matty, around here.
I really appreciate that, David. I do. And look, I wouldn't have had it any other way than you on this stream with me today, as we return into what is hopefully going to be a very busy period for the channel. As I said, moving into the festive period. But before we do dive into Antonio Conte and his first week at N17, if you are new to the channel, do make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. We lost about 200 subscribers while I was away, I assume due to the inactivity. So we need to get that number back up. We need to get back on the road to 12K, which hopefully we can hit before the end of the year. But look, enough of that. Let's talk about football. David, last Monday, Nuno Espirito Santo was sacked. And the next morning, Antonio Conte was brought in to be the next Spurs head coach. I think that the biggest stat that you can bring that really shows the excitement around the fan base when that appointment was made was before Tuesday morning, we had sold 20,000 tickets for the game against Vitesse. In the 2 days that followed, we sold 22,000 more. It's a massive, massive appointment for Tottenham Hotspur. What have you made of his first week? What have you made of the style of play we start with, first of all?
Yeah, look, and as well, people were trying to sell their tickets for the Vitesse game and couldn't before Conte came in. No, look, do you know what? I'm absolutely delighted with the Conte appointment. Look, it is going to take time. It is going to take time. We do need more investment into the team as well. But you know what? It shows ambition, Matty. I think it was a last chance saloon. It was either now or never, to be honest with you, with someone like Conte, with someone that if you do it his way, he will bring success. So I'm very happy with the appointment, I have to say. But only Tottenham can make you so depressed and then feel like you're on top of the world the next day. It's absolutely crazy what this club can do to people. Do you know what? Look, with Nuno, I wanted it to work out, Matty. It didn't work out. Look, I believe, whether people wanted him or not, once he's manager of your club, you have to try and give him a bit of time. We gave him time, but as each week was going by, it was just getting progressively worse. And look, the players didn't tweet after he left, and that kind of says everything.
It does. I think that was the silence on that front was absolutely deafening. We'll be talking a bit more about Nuno later in the stream. So everyone in the live chat, I'll put a poll up in there if you think Nuno deserved more time or not. So make sure to vote in the poll, and we'll be running through those results when we do get to Nuno in about 20 or so minutes. Brad Matthews coming in with the £5 super chat. Brad, a massive supporter of not just my channel, but so many channels across YouTube. He says, "Welcome back, Matty Hayes. Hello, David, the dynamic duo." Brad, thank you for the welcome back, and thank you for your support. I look forward to seeing you in the live chat a lot over the next couple of weeks. And we do have Tony Young as well joining the Championship Members Club. Tony, thanks a million for that. Really do appreciate the support. We've Kane as well coming in with the $5 super chat. Says, glad to have you back. Matty Hayes, also big up to the Irish Hotspur. Kane, thank you very much. I do appreciate that. And we see everyone calling me Matty Hayes, and there's only one reason for that, and it is the man, the myth, the legend, Brian Daigle from Tottenham on Tour. Says, now you're alive, I will repeat myself. The birds are singing louder, the sun is shining brighter, and the skies are bluer, and it's all because Matty Hayes has returned to YouTube. I am back, Brian. You're an absolute legend. Thank you so much for that, and thank you so much for your continued support on the channel. But look, I just want to quickly mention on the Vitesse game. I don't want to go too much into it because it was almost a week ago at this stage. The first thing I take from that is a sign of intent from Antonio Conte with that really strong lineup. You can't put it down to the fact that it was his first game and he wanted it to start well, but he went strong against a team that I know had beaten us previously, but isn't one that you'd expect us to need our full team against. It was a good win, but everything there showed just how much work Conte has to do in terms of getting that 3-0 lead and the team already taking the foot off the pedal. The woeful defensive performance we saw, especially from Eric Dyer, but the great atmosphere that was around the stadium was great to see, and hopefully that can last. Moving on to yesterday's game, David, Everton 0, Tottenham 0. The main stat that's been thrown around the place is one we've had for a bit now. No shots on target since the 44th minute of the defeat against West Ham, which seems like so long ago. That's 226 minutes of Premier League football without a shot on target. We also struggled against Burnley in the EFL Cup when we didn't get our first shot on target until 60 minutes into the game. Look, there's a few reasons for that. It's the lack of creativity in our midfield. It's the underperformance of our attacking players. But the difference between when it happened under Nuno and when it happens now is that we were defensively resilient against Everton, and we had that backbone that kind of allowed us to come out of that game with the point. As Conte said, it was a very good point. But how worried are you about the fact that we can't get a shot on target, which seems such a simple thing?
It's absolutely shocking, Matt. I'll be honest with you. You look at some of the caliber of the players we have. Yeah, we have some bad ones, but you still have Kane and Son. You know, the dynamic duo, two world-class players. You know, at the end of the day, looking at the Everton game, we don't put nowhere near enough balls in the box for Kane or Son to try and get on the end of. We don't take enough shots outside the box or in and around the area, you know, to even trouble any team defensively or even trouble the goalkeeper. And we just sheerly don't create enough. But we don't have anyone that can play that pass over the top in behind. We don't have anyone that can keep the ball and keep sustained pressure in the final third, that can play left, that can play right. But look, that problem has been here for a while. That's why Jose Mourinho was getting Kane to drop deep, pick up the ball and create and get Son to go in behind, because we didn't have that creator. But teams have worked out how to stop that. So you can't do that with Harry Kane anymore. All they have to do is put a man in front of him and they can stop it. It's too easy. So now we're looking for different ideas. And look, hopefully Conte can come in. Look, it's going to take a while. I do believe eventually one team is going to be on the end of a severe beating from Tottenham, where Son unloads, Kane unloads. I do believe that. But look, right now, you know, they're not registering struts. They're not really creating anything. And the confidence has been sapped. You can see it. Look, Son was awful yesterday. Kane was awful yesterday. Lucas Moura was diabolical yesterday. You know what I mean? Lo Celso came on. He was absolutely shocking when he came on. You know, it's kind of like no matter what players we use right now, they're absolutely awful. Outside of Son and Kane, when you're asking them to play up top, you need someone in that midfield who's going to be able to pick the passes, find the runs. We just don't have that player. Look, you can say Ndombele, he's not consistent. You look at Lo Celso, yeah, he might play well for Argentina, but he's absolutely useless for Tottenham. Lucas Moura, yeah, he works hard. There's not really great end product there. You know, sometimes he runs up blind alleys. But the reason why he gets the nod is because he works harder than the rest. We have severe problems going forward. But look, defensively, they're not all solved either. They're not all solved either. You look, Eric Dyer, you know, a better team, a better striker yesterday would have took advantage with some of them balls that went in over his head. He genuinely just didn't know where it was. You know, you look at Ben Davies, he's always going to be capable of a mistake, whether it's keeping players on side and not holding his line, or whether it's just a ball dropping in over him that he just cannot deal with. At times, I'm seeing him get up further than the pitch than Reguilon. That doesn't look right to me. You know, if he's one of your three centre-backs, he stays. The whole idea of having your three centre-backs is that they stay, and your wing-backs are the ones that are allowed to bomb forward. And you might be able to push on an extra midfielder out of that midfield to get forward. That's the whole idea of it. So there's still a lot of teething problems there. But look, Conte can only do so much with this squad. Right now, you're looking, okay, Hugo Lloris, I think, of course, Hugo Lloris speaks for itself. You go into the centre-backs, we'll all agree Romero's absolutely world-class. But no matter who you put in beside him, look, I think if you put Rode on one side, Tanganga on the other side, you might see something better. But again, you're going to have to expect that you will see a couple of rash mistakes because they're youngsters. But you put Dyer, Davies, or Sanchez in, you're still going to get mistakes. So that's never going to really be resolved until either, some of them pick up form, which I doubt it, because it's been proven time and time again over managers that they're culpable to their mistakes. You look in midfield, Højbjerg and Skip, absolute destroyers. Yeah, they can look after the ball to a certain extent, but we have nobody in that midfield that can pick up the ball and bring it from one end of the field to the other, or someone that can pick up and get you on the attack from deep in your own half with a pass out. We don't have that. So right now, we don't really have a connect between defence and going forward. I think Conte is trying to use them wing-backs to get the ball to the wing-backs, pass inside, receive it again, or whatever else. But whatever reason right now, it's not really working. And he's a big, big job in his hands. But look, first of all, Conte is going to come in. He's going to make sure he shores it up defensively before he even works on maybe a few things going forward. It tries to find out the problems. First of all, it's getting this team defensively solid so that we're not losing games, and then the rest will come.
Exactly, and it's such an important thing to do because I only noticed it yesterday. It would have been the same before because I didn't Brighton or Norwich won and Newcastle drew, but only Newcastle and Norwich have a worse goal difference in the Premier League than Spurs. Like the likes of Leeds, who've had a bad start, the other teams around there, Villa sacking their manager and all that. Only two teams, only Newcastle and Norwich, the teams that we're looking at right now as absolute shoo-ins for relegation, have a worse goal difference than Tottenham. That's where Conte needs to start, and that is where he is starting. I want to dive a little bit deeper into kind of each area of the pitch in a second, but Bobby with a £2 super chat says, I've missed you, Matt. Big up, my brother. Bobby, absolute legend. Thank you so much for tuning in. I've missed you too. I've missed all the viewers, so I'm glad to be back. Ryan as well, little big man, a Newcastle fan who is very excited about the appointment of Eddie Howe today. He says, exciting times for Spurs, new manager as the GOAT returning. Who is the first signing you feel you need to make under Conte? And that's such a loaded question. First of all, Ryan, thank you so much for the super chat. I do appreciate it. I think that the first position we need to look at is the centre of defence, and we need not just to sign the players that we think are the best players or players that we've been linked to in the past. And if I could have the pick of anybody out there right now, it's a player that I really don't think we're going to get, but it's Alessandro Bastoni from Inter Milan, who last night again had a fantastic game in the Milan derby against AC Milan. But he's a player who made his name and absolutely shone in that Antonio Conte system for Inter Milan last season. He's so confident. If Ben Davies in that left centre-back position, if we do need a player there who can carry the ball forward and be almost an overlapping centre-back, Bastoni is the perfect man for that. But he's also good at sitting back. He's good in the air, and he's an absolute unit. So if I could pick anybody, it would be him. David, if you could pick any player right now for us to sign on the 1st of January, who would it be?
I'll be honest with you. I think it's a baller in midfield. I think, look, you could look at what's that guy at Lyon? Bruno Guimaraes. Guimaraes, I like him. You're looking at maybe a Sandro Tonali. A player like that, someone who can really get on the ball, who's comfortable on receiving the ball in tight situations in midfield, and has the cool, calm, and collected of this, that they can keep possession, play left, play right, quicken it up, slow it down. Sometimes, someone that can get their head up, put Son in behind, put Kane in behind, put Lucas in behind. Someone like that, I think, is very, very important right now. Someone that's had a bit of an effect like Bruno Fernandes has had at United in that sort of regard. So for me, I think a centre midfielder right now is the most crucial position we need to sign in right now. Look, obviously we need a lot more than that, but my first signing as Conte would be a midfielder, someone in the role of a Michael Carrick or a Luka Modric.
I'd love to see it. And look, I think there's a lot of positions we do need to address. And the main thing to kind of take is that we can't do all of that in January. There will be different positions that we need to prioritise, and I'm sure the way Conte and Paratici see the situation is going to be different to how every individual fan sees it. So we need to have a bit of patience. And you could argue, well, why didn't you give that time or have that patience with Nuno? It's because Conte is a proven track record, and Nuno Espirito Santo just didn't. But again, we'll touch on that more a little bit later. I want to touch on the attack, and you mentioned it there a while ago, Kane, Lucas, and Son, and they just weren't good enough. They simply were not good enough on Sunday. And we've been talking a lot about, with Antonio Conte coming in, this turnaround from Harry Kane. And I have a quote here about what Kane said on the appointment of Conte. He said it shows great ambition. To be honest, his resume speaks for itself. Everyone knows how highly thought of he is and what he has done as a manager in the game. You have to respect that. And he also had another comment on how Antonio Conte is the type of manager that makes you want to put his body on the line for him. And this was after one training session with the Italian man. And of course, his as I mentioned, his track record will have a lot more impact on what's being said in the early days of his time at Tottenham. But you see Harry Kane coming out and say this, and then you see him put in his worst performance of the season on Sunday. And the bar was already set very low with how he's been playing, but he was just really poor. He had one good cross into the back post to Reguilon, which the fullback could have done a little bit better on. But Kane, he's just not running after the ball. He's not pressing. When he gets in it, his first thought is, let's turn and play a long ball to whoever may be running. And sometimes there aren't players running there. When he gets the ball taken off him, he sits in the ground, he mopes. In the past, you think maybe that's all right because he's banging in 30 a season. But the way he's playing now, that simply is not good enough. It's not possible to survive in that way. What have you made of, I suppose, how do you expect Kane to develop this season under Antonio?
Look, I expect him to score goals, I'll be honest with you. Look, I think once the creativity is probably sorted out, you might see a lot more of a happy Harry Kane. Look, I'm not excusing not making runs. It's totally unacceptable. You should always be making runs in behind. You know what I mean? To look for the ball to get in behind. Look, one thing I'll give him a bit of credit for is, you know, he is getting into the game a lot more with holding up the ball. Like, especially looking at the Vitesse and everything game, there's a clear plan there by Conte at the minute to get the ball into Kane's feet, let him hold it up, and maybe get the bodies forward and let the play develop from there. But look, you know, yesterday was absolutely awful. It was absolutely awful yesterday. Do you know what, Matty? I've been really disappointed. I'll be honest with you. I've been really disappointed with him. But I do think once he believes there's a player there that when he does make them runs that they can find him, like he had maybe with Christian Eriksen, like that sort of rapport he had with Sonny last year, that if he did make that run, Sonny was able to put the ball in behind and stuff like that. Because, look, sometimes as a striker, and don't get me wrong, I'm not excusing this whatsoever, it's not good enough. But sometimes as a striker, you do stop making them runs if you just know it's not going to come. You're like, why would I waste my energy? Now, the terms of closing down, inexcusable. But look, hopefully Conte now can relight that fire in Harry Kane, you know, spark him into life. Look, going forward, it's been a massive problem. Look, it's not just on him. You know, we're not creating chances. We're not popping off any shots. Anytime we do break, you know, the final ball is severely, severely lacking. You look, right now, with the pressing thing as well, Kane's just not that sort of striker anymore. He's not. Look, the injuries have taken a toll. The sheer amount of international competitions he's played year in, year out, plus the rigorous routine with Tottenham Hotspur, it's just taking its toll. He's not that pressing sort of striker anymore. So now you have to work a different way. Look, whether it's, you know, doing what Conte's trying to do, get it into his feet, let him hold it up, build up the play, and then hopefully get him further up the pitch. Or whether it's just simply start using your wing backs, tell him to start putting the balls in at every opportunity, and tell Kane, tell Son, be on that last man, expecting it to come in. Right now, there's no clear attacking plan. Nobody really knows what to do. Kane and Son don't know whether, especially Kane and Son, because they're playing up front now, but they don't know whether to really make a run in the box because they don't know whether the ball's coming or not. But if they've stopped doing it, especially under Nuno, they stopped doing it because what we are doing is we're getting the ball out wide into good cross positions. We're just coming back inside, cross the other way, backwards, and that's all we're doing. So there has to be some sort of clear attacking plan of what Conte wants from this team. And I do think you will see a lot better from Kane and Son. These last two games under Conte, I'll be honest with you, for me, it was just about getting the results, being unbeaten, letting him work on his magic, and delivering a clear plan over the international break, coming into these easy enough fixtures. I do think you will see a lot better. But in terms of Kane, it's been very poor. It's been absolutely atrocious. Look, whether you like Nuno or not, you know, what about us fans out here? Respect us, put in the performance for us. You know what I mean? But look at it. Hopefully he can improve because he needs to. He's having a terrible time. And it can be very dangerous for him, Matt. You know, he can go one way now. He can use everything that's happened, use it as fire in his belly, along with what Conte is going to offer, and really get his ass moving. Or he's just going to completely fall off the rails altogether, and he might not even get his move, and then he's stuck. So, look, it's all on him to get out there and perform now. But there's something not right. There's something not right.
And I said that during the summer, like at the beginning of the summer when Kane did that interview with Gary Neville, and we realized, okay, he wants to leave, and there's a chance that he's going to push this deal through. I think what I said and what a lot of the fan base felt initially was, well, he's not going to be the player who skips training, and he's not going to be the player who basically does what he ended up doing. And then after that, I was thinking, well, he's not going to be the player that downs tools on the pitch. He still has these personal targets that he wants to reach. He still has a move that he may want next summer. And I said, even though Manchester City made an offer of £127 million for Kane in the middle of August as a 27-year-old striker in his prime, 1 year, one bad season, all of a sudden, he's a nearly 29-year-old striker who gets a lot of ankle injuries. And it's easy at that stage of his career that he's at, it's easy how quickly that pendulum can swing. And it was actually a friend of mine at work that made the point to me recently that you look at Harry Kane and Heung-min Son, who right now are players who are in the prime of their career, or perhaps should be in the prime of their career, but that very quickly becomes a player who's over the hump when they turn 29, 30, 31, depending on how they can keep themselves going, getting into the later years of their career. And Kane right now is going down a horrendous path, and one that may be detrimental to him in what he does achieve in his later years. A move to Manchester City is not set in stone in January or next summer. A move to any team, for that matter, isn't set in stone for him. He needs to keep his head down, and he needs to get working. We can sit here and say we feel he is going to do it, and we feel Conte is the right man to make that happen, but he's surprised us twice in the last 6 months already, so it's hard to say that with too much confidence. But moving back into the midfield, and one point that I do want to bring in, well, the creativity was still really poor, while we were still lacking quite a bit in that game. I think there were slight improvements in possession. I thought our build-up play was a lot more structured, even though it didn't come to fruition too much. You could see kind of what they were trying to do, because what I noticed a few times in Nuno's last few games is we have the ball for the centre-backs. We play it into the middle of the park. The centre-backs give it straight back to the defenders. All of a sudden, we're under the press. And every single time, Eric Dyer got the ball on his left foot and kicked it out for a throw-in. And you're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to get anywhere when that happens. I thought we were trying to play the ball on the ground. And when the ball is played into the middle of the park, the midfielders were turning. Now, this is where we come into what you were saying about not having a player who can run at an opposition team and who can actually carry that ball forward. We are trying to make that happen, but the people in there just at the moment aren't capable of making that happen. Oliver Skipp had an incredible game, I thought, yesterday. I thought he was one of our better players. We can't put the onus on him to be that creative player for us. And we're going to talk a little bit about formation in a second. I see a lot of mentions there of a 3-5-2 and of a number 10, David, I was discussing with you before the stream. But I want to talk first of all. He attempted 46 passes yesterday, 43 of which were completed at a 93% success rate. And Ali Gold, since the game yesterday, has said Antonio Conte already taken a big shine to Oliver Skipp. Skipp is seen as a coach's dream with excellent technique, a great engine, vision for a pass. He's able to take on a lot of tactical information and gives everything. That's via transfers on Twitter. Do you think Oliver Skipp can be that player that is that creative spark for us in the middle of the park, David, or is that enforcer like we saw at Norwich last year?
He's an enforcer. He never struck me as that creative type. Look, even when Pochettino was bringing him on in games, he was always that guy that got stuck in. He was never really creative type. Now, look, I actually do think people underrate his passing a little bit, Look, sometimes he does pass it sideways, but he passes it sideways with a forward momentum on it. Not like a Harry Winks where it's just flat, slow. You know what I mean? It's a proper pass. Look, yesterday, I actually think there was only 2 or 3 passes he didn't complete yesterday. Out of 40-something. So I actually do think his passing ability is a bit underrated, but he's an enforcer. It's like Højbjerg. Højbjerg is better as an enforcer. Boys, look, you go back to the first couple of games of the season under Nuno. What were we best at? Showing them into our midfield and skipping Højbjerg, just religiously turning that ball over in there. You know what I mean? But in terms of being able to get on the ball, drive at teams. Yeah, Højbjerg can do it to a certain extent. Yeah, Skipp can do it to a certain extent, but not at the regularity we need it. Even if you're not driving the ball, someone that can just look up, Matty, can see Lucas, and he can play that perfect floated pass in behind, not absolutely moon booting it like Dyer. You know what I mean? Just a nice floated little curl. You know what I mean? When you're playing that pass, Dyer hits it straight, okay? What you need to be doing is if you're hitting that, you need to hit that with a slight bit of curl. So it gives your winger a chance to be able to get onto it, take it down on the run. We don't have anyone that can do that. We don't have anyone that can get the ball, look up, and see Son running in behind or Kane running in, looking for it for feet, and picking either or. We do not have that player. If you don't have that player, what you need is someone like an absolute freak that we had, is Moussa Dembele. But how rare is someone like Moussa Dembele? It's a rarity. Someone that can just pick up the ball and go from defense to attack, and watch people bouncing off him like it's a kid's party on a bouncy castle. You know what I mean? Like that's a rarity. So the only other solution is getting in someone like a Carrick or someone like a Modric that can hold the ball, that can run with it if need be. Because what you can do is then you can rotate Skip and Højbjerg. You can have that enforcer in behind that ball, in beside that baller, or I'm sorry to say it, but people won't be happy. But drop Lucas Moura, bring in an extra midfielder, put an extra midfielder, and then get them to turn over the ball, and just have someone who's the go-to guy, who's dropping into pockets to pick up the ball. Not like what Harry Winks used to do, and then Jamie Carragher ended up exposing, which I was delighted, where he pretends he's looking for the ball, and he doesn't actually want it. You want someone going to them back four, especially if you're going to persist with a Dyer and a Davies. You need someone in that midfield that's running to them and saying, give me that ball. And every time they don't give them the ball, slap them because they cannot pass. You know what I mean? So you need someone that's dropping in saying, give me the ball. Most top teams in the Premier League have one. And right now we don't have it. That's why you're seeing Davies not, giving away the ball when he's trying to pass it inside or whatever else. You're seeing Dyer hit these absolute shocking passes, and you're seeing ultimately, you see Kane, you see Son, they're getting frustrated as well. They're trying to sometimes make things happen on their own, which is impossible. And that's why you need that midfielder in there, someone that's going to demand the ball at every opportunity, because you're not going to get another Moussa Dembele. It's a rarity.
The most frustrating thing for me listening to that, you've hit the nail on the head with the whole situation there, but the most frustrating part for me listening to that is we need someone like Dembele in the middle of the park. We need someone like Alderweireld at the back. We need someone like Modric in the middle. We've had all of these players. We need a creative number 10. We've had Eriksen. We need a defender who can ping those balls. We've had Alderweireld. We need a player who can be that enforcer, but also carry the ball forward. We've had Dembele. We need fullbacks. We've had Rosen Walker. The recruitment at Tottenham has always been questioned, but what we've gotten horrifically wrong this time is letting players go and not replacing them, or waiting 10, 12, 18, 24 months to replace them. And that is why we are in the situation now where we are with our third manager in the space of 2 years. We've had 4 managers sign a contract till 2023, all that crap. Recruitment is the main thing that needs to be right this time. And actually, just before we went live, I saw a thing that said from Alistair Gold that there is a feeling within Tottenham that the starting 11 and the formation could change over the coming weeks. And that is where we need to bring in that 3-5-2. Jordan mentions it here with a pivot player, the one who links up the play and distributes it. There's a few comments a while ago, one mentioning Christian Eriksen as well. But about playing, it was Jordan as well saying, do you think Conte would switch to 3-5-2? Now, in the Premier League with Chelsea, Conte had a success with a 3-4-3. The midfielders in that one, I believe, were Matic and Fabregas, possibly, who were 2 very good players who were at probably their prime in there. At Juventus and at Inter Milan in Italy, where he had a success there, was in a 3-5-2. And last year with Inter Milan, that 3-5-2 was utterly incredible, and it won so many games for them. They had that number 10 in there behind strikers who to Harry Kane and Heung-min Son, because at times they played with the 2 target men of Lukaku and Lautaro Martinez, but also at times they kind of changed that up and played one of Lukaku and Martinez with one of a wide striker, whether it was Alexis Sanchez or Politano as well. So it's a very similar style and a very similar system that can be implemented at Spurs with players in there already who have those attributes. Now, what we need to fix, and the main thing that will be fixed in that, David, as you mentioned, is getting that extra player in the middle of the park. Yeah. Because I do feel it's really important for us to have Højbjerg and Skip, because we need that defensive resilience and that solidity in front of the back line that at the moment it has players that we don't want to be in that team that aren't good enough. But when we do start bringing centre-backs in, players who don't have that chemistry and perhaps don't have the cohesion of what you need within a proper defensive line that wants to challenge at the top of the Premier League. So for me, we need Højbjerg and Skip. But Lucas isn't being that creative player that we need. As good as he is, as much as he'll fight for the team, as much as he can be that man to get us from defence to attack by taking on 2 or 3 men, he's not that man that can play that final pass. And we need someone in that 10 role. The most frustrating thing, and I say that a lot, but another frustrating thing is there are players in that team that we have right now that have the attributes that we need. We need a creative number 10. We have Lo Celso. We need a Dembele type player. We have Ndombele, but they can't do it on a consistent basis. They just simply can't be influential enough for this team to put them in there. But the first thing we need there is that change of formation. I believe, I may be wrong, I, of course, trust Conte over my, but having a number 10 and a player whose sole job in there, if they want to float, whatever it is, to create, to make those passes, so that when Skip and Højbjerg turn in possession, there's this massive gap in front of them. There's this defence, the opposition midfield, before you then have our line of 3 strikers. We need something in there to connect what we're beginning to see at the back and what we know can happen at the top. And that for me is going to be a really important thing as Conte tries to find his best 11 at Spurs. But look, who knows if it'll work out, because we tried a lot of things in the past that haven't worked. Maybe that's just Spurs, who knows. But that is where I'd like to see this go.
But you know what, Matty? You were mentioning the Chelsea midfield there. Matic, Fabregas. Matic, destroyer. Fabregas, he can create going forward, but defensively he can come and pick up the ball, turn, pick passes. You look at the Milan midfield last year, Brozovic, I think, was in there. Very good player. Eriksen was in there. He can create. So the thing is, Conte needs that midfielder until he gets someone that's very comfortable in midfield on the ball. It can be either a number 10 or someone that's deeper lying, preferably the two. But until he gets that, you're not really going to see much out of this team. You're really not. Look, I even believe if you had someone that went to Dyer and Davies and demanded the ball off them and could turn on the ball and was comfortable to do it, you might see Davies and Dyer even improve that little bit. But you know what I mean? But right now, I think just speaking here, that midfielder is absolutely crucial going forward, and just even trying to build out from the back. It's absolutely crucial we get it.
And the interesting thing is, Orange Fantasy makes the point here, we need Frank Kezia. Watching that Milan derby last night, I know, of course, the fact that Conte used to manage Inter Milan, but there's so many players in there, you think, we need them at Spurs, or we need a player of that mould at Spurs. I'm talking Frank Kezia and Alexis Saelemaekers in the AC Milan team. Then for Inter, you have a kind of Barella style player, and we're not going to get him. With someone like him, there's Alessandro Bastoni at the back. There's a few more players moving up through that team that we have been linked to, Skriniar as well. That will be fantastic for us. I thought just watching that game, it's such an Italian game of football, and this Italian revolution that we're hoping to have at Spurs. I think it was just great to see so many potential targets for us in there. Look, we're going to hear a lot over the midfield, and like I said, Alistair Gold talking about potentially a change of formation in there, which is expected to be an extra man in the middle of the park and 2 up top. Hopefully, it's something that's at least tried out as we go into what could be a very important time of the season for our team. Moving into the back line, and I apologise for the dogs barking outside, but moving into the back line, I want to start with Sergio Reguilon, first of all. And actually, Paul here makes a very good point with the €5 super chat. Thanks for that, Paul. Says we need Kezia and number 10. I mean, that's it. It's not just one signing. It's not just one extra player in there that we need. It is, even if it's just competition more than anything else, we do need those players. But Sergio Reguilon had a very difficult game yesterday. He was taken off with 20 minutes to go to be replaced by Matt Doherty, who's put out of position. It was an interesting call by Antonio Conte. But Reguilon has been speaking today, and I want to get a few of those quotes in a second. But while I close my window so we can't hear the dogs, David, I just want to get your take on Reguilon's performance yesterday.
Do you know what, Reguilon, it was hit and miss for me. Look, he got himself into some great positions, but done nothing when he was in them positions. And look, that's what he's in the team for now. Playing as a wing-back, Emerson, the other side, they have to create. They have to create. That's why they're in there. They're in there to keep the wit in the team going forward so that when the ball does go out there, that they're in a position to be able to whip the balls in. With Reguilon, look, he got into all the positions in the world, but he just wasn't brave enough. The chance he missed, he should have absolutely buried that. He should have buried it. That's 1-0. That's game. That's 3 points. Other times, he's in crossing positions. He just can't cross a ball. He just can't cross it. He panics. And look, for me, it was one of them games. It's like if he was better in the final third, he would have had a brilliant. He probably would have been man of the match yesterday because he was heavily involved in the game. Some of his passes inside, shocking. I think there was one of them. He passed it straight across in front of our back 4 to nobody, straight to an Everton player. I'm start there thinking, I'm like, what are you seeing? Like, I would actually love to know what you're seeing.
Yeah.
Everyone else can see that that's a blue shirt in the middle. Do you need to go to Specsavers or something like that? Like, what are you doing? It's just, but look, am I surprised we have these brain dead moments throughout our team, right throughout, where people are just sloppy on the ball? Reguilon, look, even sometimes, even against, sometimes I've seen him, he's passing the ball inside and looking to go on the overlap, but he's just sloppy with his pass. It's like, there's no point of already thinking about the overlap and going. Make sure you get the pass inside and then go. It's just basics with this guy sometimes that lacks. But him and Sonny, they've been our 2 chief creators, both playing down the left-hand side. The 2 of them have been our both chief creators. So you can't look. Reguilon is no competition. Session I don't know. Maybe he'd be over in Lapland at this Christmas time. I don't know what's up with him. You have Ben Davies, who, look, we all know about that. I'm not going to harp on about him. But what else have you got? You know what I mean? Yeah. You have to stick with the guy. You have to persist with him whether you like it or not. I know he can be frustrating, but look, if Reguilon just took care of some of the basics, maybe done a bit more working on his passing, a bit more working on his crossing, maybe a bit of shooting practice, because under Conte, what I have noticed is, if the ball's down Emerson's side, Reguilon's expected to get into that box towards the back post for anything that is overhit. Same as Emerson, the other side. It seems like a clear instruction. But look, at the end of the day, I know people want to harp on about Reguilon, but the stats show he's one of our most creators this year. So you can't, he's been one of our best creators in a poor team. So,
and look, the thing with Reguilon is, I think that the first game against Chelsea, his debut in the EFL Cup way back it was September 2020. I think we saw exactly what we get from him, and that was him being a little bit rash, a bit of over enthusiasm, which led to Chelsea scoring their first goal. But then a decent performance, a solid performance where he looked good going forward. He has that pace, but there is the room for those mistakes in there. And as Hayden says, this is Reguilon in a nutshell. It's not going to change, but with the three behind him, it will mask some of those mistakes. Moses was the same for Chelsea. And I'm going to go into a few of Reguilon's quotes. But first of all, Aidan Kearney with the €5 super chats. It's good to have you back, Matt. Aidan, thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. It's very good to be back. But Reguilon on Antonio Conte said the gaffer is special. He then said, I've never played five at the back before. I have to learn quickly, so let's work. I'm enjoying the position. We have done a lot of video training. So for me, Reguilon seems like a player who was made for a back. He's a left back, but his attacking side of it is a lot better. So it actually kind of surprised me that he said he never played a back five. But there's that learning curve there for him, and it's going to be one that he'll probably have to learn quickly, because you don't really have time to rest in an Antonio Conte side. If you're not playing, you'll be replaced. Whether that's with Matt Doherty, as Orange Fancy says, could be our backup left back. I hope to God it isn't, but the potential is there. And Antonio Conte, he's not going to waste any time. He's not going to wait around. Reguilon also said, I have a friend at Inter, Ashraf Hakimi, who I spoke to about the gaffer. He told me I will improve a lot under him, and I want to do that as soon as possible. In 1 week, I can already see that. Now, Hakimi is one of those fullbacks that had his best time under Conte. There's one stage in the Champions League last year when he was the top scorer in the group stage. And he's, of course, gotten a big move to PSG since then. But it's good that Reguilon sees that he has to learn. He knows the areas he does have to learn, and he's already doing his best to do that. And those video training sessions with Antonio Conte, I think, will do him the world of good. Paul here making an interesting point. Thanks again for the super chat, Paul. He says, unpopular opinion, wingbacks will do nothing with Højbjerg and Skip in midfield. They are not good enough. What do you think of that, David?
I can see where he's coming from, because even if they do pass it inside, are Højbjerg and Skip quick enough with their thinking to be able to put it straight back into a position with him? No. Look, Højbjerg and Skip, you give them time, they'll pick a nice pass, but can they do it under pressure? Not wholeheartedly. Look, they might struggle a little, but at the end of the day, Reguilon, look, I can see where he's coming from, but can have no complaints about Reguilon and Emerson yesterday. Their final ball was crap. They got into right positions. Just the final ball was absolutely shocking. So, look, do you know what? I don't agree with it. Paul. I'll be honest. Look, I can see where you're coming from. Do they have the passing ability to be able to get them in the game? But look, you've seen against Vitesse, you've seen yesterday, they do. They are getting them into the game. It's just what they're doing with the ball in the final third is the problem. Look, if we were scoring goals right now, nobody talking about Højbjerg and Skip. You wouldn't be. It's just the fact that we're not scoring enough goals. We're not creating enough going forward that everyone is talking about them. Look, for me, I'll be honest with you, just put an extra midfielder in there. Take Lucas out. Just take Lucas out. Put an extra midfielder in there.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I like I said, I do see where Paul is coming from. Dare I say, Winks could be a player that system-wise could suit those full-backs, but I think quality and consistency-wise, there's a lot of other things to be said. But I do feel if, for example, we come up against a team that play wide forwards to nullify the threat of our full-backs, all of a sudden the creative onus is on Højbjerg and Skip, and I think that's just way too easy to nullify what we have, because the two of those aren't really going to do all that much if they are the ones in possession. Trying to create for us going forward. But quickly, I just want to mention as well, overall reports in the last couple of weeks have said that the players, or the last week or so, the players are said to be in awe of Conte's training sessions and the attention he pays to individual details. So the noise coming out of the Spurs camp at the moment is good about Antonio Conte. One man that wasn't particularly good about for quite a while is Nuno Espirito Santo, who's of course sacked by Tottenham last Monday morning following a very poor run of no goals and essentially sackable performances. He has spoken out for the first time since his dismissal this morning on Instagram. He said, "Wow, the last few weeks have been hectic to say the least. This is football, the most ruthless sport in the game. Only a couple of weeks back, I was crowned manager of the month and forward to the present, and it's been some days since my dismissal at Spurs. This is life. I move on forward now, looking for my next challenge. Finally, I want to thank the fans of Spurs. When I joined this great club, I envisaged a vision to bring trophies, but all didn't go to plan. That's all, really. We live and learn. Look forward to keeping all of you posted, and thank you once again for your constant support." Look, I respect Nuno. I thank him for his efforts at Spurs. It didn't go to plan, but for me, I think one problem that we heard throughout his time at Tottenham, and what I personally pick up in that message is it's a bit emotionless and it's a bit robotic, and that may just be who he just is as a person. But in a team like Tottenham, it's not going to work as a manager. And I want to get the results of that poll. I said, did Nuno Espirito Santo deserve more time to prove himself at Tottenham? We had 222 votes, and 78% of you said no, he did not deserve more time. And look, I think that sums it up. I think the fact that Conte became available, we pulled the trigger a little bit sooner. Thanks again, Paul, for the super chat. He says they won't against the top teams on Highbury and Skip, I reckon. But Dave, look, first of all, on that statement, have you anything to say?
No, look, it's just like I think it's about what we were discussing before, Matt. And you brought up a great point. Like, look, he didn't really reference that to the players there. The players didn't tweet him when he gone. There's no relationship there whatsoever. Mm-hmm. They didn't have the respect for him. And once he seen that, he just gave up on them. You know what I mean? So, look, you could kind of see it on the pitch anyway, really. You know what I mean? We weren't running. You could see it from the West Ham game. We weren't running about. But, look, I picked up on something. You were going to reach my quotes after the West Ham game, and it was like, we're not giving up yet. And I'm kind of like, I heard that after the Zagreb game last season under Jose Mourinho. You know what I mean? I've heard this before, but the fact that it's only a few weeks into the season is kind of really worrying that them noises are coming out. So it's clear it wasn't working. Look, Kane clearly didn't want to play for him. Look, Son tried, but look, ultimately the performances were starting to speak for itself. They didn't. It just didn't work out. Look, at the end of the day, thank you for Nuno for stepping in. Let's be honest with you, he came when nobody else in world football wanted to touch the job with a barge ball. He came, he tried. It just didn't work out. So look, he's gone. Thank you very much. But the Godfather's here now. But just on what you were saying there about some of the players' quotes. Look, I've heard it all before. And the managers come in, they're putting out all the right sound bites.
Yeah,
just do it on the pitch. Ultimately, just do it on the pitch. I don't want to hear if Conte goes that they wanted more excuses. Just do it on the pitch. Shut up, do your training, take the tactics on board, and go out and perform.
Yeah, that's all we want. I think Dele Alli is the perfect example of that. We didn't even touch on him when we talked about the midfield because he just seems so far away from the first team at the moment, which is upsetting. But he walks the walk. He talks the talk, but doesn't walk the walk. And we'd be in quite a poor position if a lot of players do follow suit on that one. I just wanted to touch quickly on Nuno and all that. But as always, thank you to Nuno for his efforts at the club. We know we wanted more. We know we wanted success. It just didn't work out. I wish him the best of luck in the future, but it was time to cut the ties there. And I think the club did it in a good way. Kane here with a $10 super chat. Absolute legend. Thank you very much for that. Says, I'm happy we have Conte. And Nuno was in over his head, but as a matter of principle, sacking a manager after 4 months with a 50-50 record, given all of our issues, is wrong. Spurs messed it up from the start. Look, I do see where you're coming from in terms of it's harsh and it's just not right to sack Nuno like that. But in my opinion, football has to be a cutthroat sport. It simply has to be, because you look at Manchester United now, they're not doing that. They haven't done that in recent years when things have looked bad under Oli, and it's looking worse and worse and worse, and they're still not able to come to that. The best teams, the ones who are successful, are cutthroat when they have to be. Chelsea so often have 2-year spells under different managers, and they've won a few Premier Leagues, a few Champions Leagues and all that. And yes, I know we're not on their level in terms of investment, but there was no positivity under Nuno. There was nothing that seemed to be improving. We regressed from the point of sacking Jose Mourinho on whatever it was, the 19th of April, to sacking Nuno Espirito Santo on the 1st of November. Everything had regressed. The morale within the squad, the effort on the pitch, the results, the performance, everything was worse. And Nuno just doesn't have a CV that says, okay, we'll give him a chance because he's proven himself in these situations before. The only time he's proven himself is getting Wolves out of the Championship and putting them in a good position in the Premier League. But then he had a really bad season. And I personally, when we got the news that Nuno was leaving Wolves last season, I was wondering why they let him walk and why they allowed that to happen. He answered that question for me during his 4 months at Tottenham. He answered that question beyond any doubt why they let him go. And look, it is harsh. Maybe it's wrong. Maybe he didn't deserve it. But that's football. And he said that himself. That's football. It's just a harsh sport.
Can I just say, look, do you know what? I can kind of see where Kane the long shot's coming from, because it's like, yeah, look, okay, we could be ruthless with manners, and I agree with you. Look, you know, you have to be ruthless in football. Football, there's no forgiveness in football. You know what I mean? If you don't do things quick enough, you go down a very downward spiral very quickly. But if you're going to be ruthless with the managers, you have to be ruthless with the players. Them top teams are also ruthless with their players. If you come in and you don't perform, you're gone. It doesn't matter if they bought you the summer before. If it's not working out, they'll ship you out on loan until they sell you. They do not care. You know, so we have to be ruthless when it comes to the players in the market as well. If they're not good enough, couldn't care less. Get rid of them, find the money, and get the replacements in, because the people that brought them in are the ones that made the mistakes in the first place. So fix it. You know, if you can't look, well, I think what Kane is saying is, can't keep always throwing the managers under the bus. Now, look, I get it. We're at a point where the only thing that could change there and then in the immediate was the manager. Can't just go out and buy players when transfer market goes. So he did have to be. But follow up. Be ruthless when it comes to bringing in players. Be ruthless with that baldy-headed idiot Steve Hitchen, who brought in Lascelles, who brought in Ndombele, who brought in Jack Clark, who brought in Sessegnon, who brought in Matt Doherty, who brought in Joe Hart. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Why is he still around the club? Be ruthless from top to bottom. Act like a big club. No point in just throwing managers on the bus, because you got what will happen is it'll be worse than Nuno next time after this. You have to do it from top to bottom. You know, the only way you'll get away with it is if you're ruthless with the players, because every manager can see that you have a great squad. They'll always think, can I come in and be better? But what's going to happen is if Conte doesn't succeed, you're talking Conte, Pochettino, Mourinho, it's only going to go worse from here.
Yeah, and like if we thought this job was a poison chalice back over the summer, if Antonio Conte comes into this in what you could describe as the prime of his career, after what he did at Inter Milan, if he comes in and doesn't succeed, no one's going to want this job, and I mean no one. Even managers who want to prove themselves or they want a bit of a challenge, this will be more than a challenge for them. It needs to happen, and we do need to be cutthroat, as David says, with players as well. Martin says, welcome back, Mr. Hayes. Thanks a million for that, Martin. Look, moving on to just quickly on the summer transfer or the January transfer window. Alexander Hilton says, Matt, who are we getting in the transfer window? You have all the inside of the club knowledge. Look, I'll be honest, I've no inside knowledge yet. I say yet optimistically on who Tottenham may be looking to bring in or who Tottenham will bring in the January transfer window. But I think the fact remains that all of us know, Simon, thanks a million for that, Spurs will be investing and recruiting in January. Well, I think centre-back and Bastoni or someone like Bastoni is the key for us. David, you think it's a central midfield more so. But if we're looking in terms of who you want to get out, who do you think is a priority for Tottenham, both in terms of getting Deadwood out, but also bringing in money that we can use for reinvestment?
I'll be honest with you, the only two midfielders I would keep is Højbjerg and Skip. I would sell Winks, Ali, Lo Celso, and Ndombele. I'd sell them. They're up for transfer straight away. I think I want to say Ben Davies, but I just have a feeling for now he'll be kept around because Conte can use him as a left-sided centre-back option. So I do think he'll be kept around. Look, I think get rid of Dyer. I think get rid of Sanchez, to be honest with you. Sell them in. Get in, a quality centre-back to play in beside Romero, and you can fill in the rest with Tanganga Road until the end of the season. You have four midfielders there you can put up for sale. That'll get you in two good midfielders. One that's comfortable in getting on the ball in deeper situations, and then a creative midfielder. And then, look, ultimately, I'll be honest with you, sell Lucas or sell Bergwijn. Look, Lucas works hard. He's a good epitome to youngsters, work hard every single day. Great. But in terms of end product, it's not quite there. So you could probably put them two up for the sale and go and get yourself a quality winger. If you do want to play the three up top and you have Kane one side and Son the other, go and get yourself a right winger because it's too easy to play against us. You block up that left-hand side of the pitch where Son is and where Kane is. You block up from the central to the left-hand side. Tottenham's not scoring against you because there's nothing coming on the right-hand side. We've seen it under Jose Mourinho. Until Bale kind of came in and kind of solved the problem on a temporary basis, teams were just leaving our right-hand side wide open because they knew we were going to do nothing with it down that side. So for me, look, I'll be honest with you, Matty. I think there's a good 50% of this squad that can go, and I wouldn't be sad to see them go.
Yeah, that's the worst part. It's upsetting how kind of quickly we've gotten to this situation. But look, Dele Alli, like I sent you before the stream, David, I think there are some players in there that we can get rid of, that we can move on, but we can actually get a bit of money for as well. Like, I still think if we sell Dele Alli, we can get 20, 30 million for him. And let's say we sell Ali, let's go in the middle and say we get 25 million for Ali. We then get maybe 20 million for Stephen Bergwijn. 45 million to 50 million is a first team player. That may be paying for that may pay for Bastoni. That's certainly more than pays for Frank Kessié, and a few other players there. But I think Ali, as much as it pains me to say it, his time's up. He has to go. Harry Winks as well. Ben Davis, I'll even say it now. Get him out of there. They've had too many chances. I think the likes of Ndombele and Lo Celso definitely more so than Ndombele. They have had chances, but not as much as some other players who've been there longer. But also the chances they've had have been in really teams that are lacking cohesion, teams that all of a sudden a new manager's coming in, then he's sacked. They've never had any sort of consistency and things like that. So if we did have to prioritise, I would prioritise giving them a bit of a chance. But I do agree that in an ideal world, especially Lo Celso, get him out. And I'm a massive fan of Lo Celso. And really, it's only the performance yesterday that's made me sit here.
I think, though, Matty, that the likes of Lo Celso and they're brought in to improve it. They're just giving us more headaches. Like, look, with Lo Celso, Matty, let's just go on the last week alone. The United game, the outside of the boot pass that he tried for Sonny and played it behind him when Son's running in behind. It's a simple inside of the foot pass into Son's path. He plays it behind him and gives away the ball. The free kick against Everton, shocking. There was another one in midfield. He bet his man and took a heavy touch. Shocking. The
corner game yesterday.
Yeah, the corner yesterday. The Vitesse game. He has all the goal to hit it. He balloons it off his head. United. Why go for the outside of the foot finish when it's a simple inside of the foot, roll it into the corner? This is just in 1 week of football alone. But I can pick out 6 standout things that this guy is just doing absolutely shocking at. And that's without proper going in and doing more analysis and watching every single minute this guy does. That's in 1 week of football. It's not good enough.
Something that really struck me after his last international break, another incredible week with Argentina, linking up with Lionel Messi there on flying form. They both go back to their clubs and they're both utterly useless. And a lot of people made the argument, which is a relevant one, and it is correct, that he plays in his position in Argentina, kind of in that number 10 role, and he plays a bit deeper and a bit more defensive for us. But a lot of what I saw from him has nothing to do with where he's playing, has nothing to do with position, has nothing to do with system. There was genuinely times, I think the Vitesse away game was one of them, which is the only Spurs game I've ever turned off and not watched because it was so bad, where he had the ball, he tried to make a pass and he fell over the ball or he missed the ball. There are things that you cannot put down to anything other than a lack of concentration, a lack of desire, just simply not caring, whatever it is. It's not down to position when he tries to kick a ball and misses it and ends up flat in his face. He has been an embarrassment, I think, in the last couple of weeks. And I hope he proves me wrong. I hope he becomes our next Eriksen or next Modric or next whoever it is. I really do, but I just don't think it's going to happen. And I think we're at a situation where maybe we can still recoup some funds for him that can be heavily reinvested elsewhere. But look, it's going to be a long rebuild. As Martin says there, this is a rebuild that happens over a couple of windows, not one. And as I mentioned at the start of the stream, we do need patience in that. And that is 100% accurate for Spurs at the moment. But we need to just start somewhere. And I think a centre-back and a midfielder is the place where we need to start there. David, before we do wrap it up, I want to get your predictions and your expectations for the season ahead. For me, between last Saturday against United, Tuesday when Conte is appointed, and today, they've got up, down, up, down, up, down. And I really don't know where we're going to land. But what are you hoping for? What are you expecting from the 8 or so months left in this season?
Do you know what, Matty? Look, the Premier League is very unpredictable this year. There's teams taking points off teams that you wouldn't expect every weekend right now. Left, right, and centre. Look, somehow, especially with the next 5 games coming up, we still have a chance of getting into top 4 before January.
We do.
Look, we've already played a lot of the top teams in this Premier League, a lot of the toughest teams, a lot of the toughest games you can play. We've already gone out of the way. Now we have Burnley, Leeds, Norwich, Brighton, and there's another crap team in there.
Brentford.
That you should be beaten. Should be beaten. Or Brentford, that's it. should be beating these teams. So, if you can pick up a nice little run together, ultimately, we're going to have to be helped in January transfer window. Look, my prediction on where we're going to finish this season is kind of like based on whether we get help in the transfer window. But look, for me, I wouldn't put top 4 out of the question. I simply wouldn't yet. Look, Conte, he does have a good track record of turning things around very, very quickly. He's going to need help in the January transfer market. But I just say whatever players we do get in January, I think we'll have to 100% have to take of approval from Conte. So, yeah, look, I'm going to go top 4. But I'd be happy with top 6, seeing progression and seeing us playing good football again.
Yeah, and I think it is really important that we do temper our expectations, because naturally in the 24, 48 hours after Conte was appointed, all Twitter was just ABIs of Antonio Conte, people singing Nessun Dorma or something, and everyone was expecting to win the league. It's not going to happen. And again, patience is the key within all this. And I know for people that have been a Spurs fan longer than I have, it's a lot easier said than done, having that patience and having that trust in the process. But I feel it is what we need right now. I'm not expecting us to get top 4 this season. Chelsea, Liverpool, and City are shoo-ins. They're going to be there, and people are looking at United, Leicester, Everton, Arsenal. You're looking at those teams underperforming, and you're thinking, well, that 4th spot is up for grabs. I don't think we get anywhere near West Ham this season, and it hurts every fibre of my being to make that point. But West Ham are just they're so good, and it's easy to say that after a win against Liverpool, but the way they play, everything about them, it's fantastic, and I think they will get that 4th spot. I hope I'm wrong again, but I think it will happen. So for me, top 6, and let's win the Conference League. Let's go for the League Cup. City are out of the League Cup. It's going to be the first time in 4 or 5 seasons that they haven't won it. Why not? Why can't we be the team to pick that up? Let's go for the FA Cup as well. Let's get top 6 and a trophy. And I will be happy as long as we build on that next season and the season after and the season after. The main thing is seeing that progression in terms of our recruitment and the way we're playing on the football pitch. And hopefully the Conte era at Spurs is going to be a very, very successful one. And let's not forget, he picked up Juventus, who just finished 7th in the league before. In the season before, he won the league 3 times with them. He picked up Chelsea, who just finished 10th, and he won the league with them at 93 points. He picked up Inter Milan, who were over a decade without a title, who finished 6th, and he ended the period that he started at Juventus with a very impressive Serie A title last season. This man is a serial winner. This man wins trophies. He's had 7 full seasons in management. He's won the league in 5 of them. He's done it in England. He is top 4 managers in the Premier League. He, for me, is top 4 managers in the world. And the crazy thing about it is he's wearing that Tottenham gear on the touchline. He is in N17, and he's the man that's going to bring success to Tottenham. Let's start here. Let's start now, and let this be the best era we've seen at Tottenham since Keith Birkinshaw. David, let us know where we can find you on YouTube.
Yeah, look, anyone that has enjoyed what I have to say today, make sure you get over to the Irish Hotspur. You can find me on there and just check out the content. I'm sure you won't be disappointed.
Yeah, everyone, absolutely go over and check David out at the Irish Hotspur, at the Irish Y on Twitter as well. Let's get him up to the next big milestone on that channel. It's 5K. He deserves it a lot more than anybody else. And David, thank you for joining me today on my return to the channel and the return to YouTube. I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more of your face as we head towards Christmas. To everyone who has tuned in, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. It's been an absolute pleasure being back. There's been nearly 2,000 of you tuning in over the last hour or so I do appreciate that. Do make sure to hit that subscribe button while you are here. Like I said, we lost 200 while I was away, so let's get that 200 back and let's hit 12K and push on as much as we can before the end of the season. I really do appreciate all the usuals and all the new faces in that live chat. Thank you so much for tuning back in again. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.
Come on, you Spurs.